But Shelley's middle name is Isaac, which is Yitzchak in Hebrew. And I thought about this because this parsha talks about the relationship between Rivka and Yitzchak. And I like to think of it, if we like to think of Abraham and Sarah as the prototype of the first Jews, then we think of Rivka and Yitzchak as the prototype of the first Jewish couple, the first Shidduch. And what happened? What did each of these people in this prototypical relationship do? The first thing is when Rivka came back, she saw Yitzchak in his tent, dwelling in his tent, meditating.
Okay.
And she, right, he was meditating.
That baby out of
And what do we learn from this? What we learn from this is that if we reflect back on what it says in the Parsha, that Yitzchak was a thinker, a Talmud Chacham, as opposed to, he thought. And the idea is that Rivka saw Yitzchak for who he was. She had no illusions. She saw his neshama. She saw his essence right there. And when I think about what it might have been like for Michelle when she first met Shelley, that I think that she saw his neshama and she saw his essence. And that's why she loved him. Just like Rivka.
She hated me the first time she saw me.
She wanted you to think that you were hard to get.
He's telling the story.
Right.
Okay, and then what does our prototypical Shelley/Yitzchak do? Okay, it says Vayikach, he took her, then he married her,
And
then he loved her.
Right.
And how much different that is from relationships today, where first we love, then we marry, and then we take.
maybe.
Yeah, and I thought a lot about that, and you can make out of it from what you want, but I got a lot of knocks out of thinking about that relationship between Rivka and Yitzchak, and half between Shelley and Michelle.
All right, that's a good part too.
Wait, I'm not done.
I didn't think you
It's
were.
rolling.
I should also say at this time that a lot of this isn't original, that a lot of this comes from thoughts
You don't have to tell
It's
him.
all right.
from my rabbi in Minneapolis. The next parsha
It
is
shows you were listening to them.
thinking.
Aaron would like all his parishioners to listen to.
Parishioners? Yeah, that's what he calls them.
No, I don't know, I like it when they don't remember.
Yeah.
So again next year?
Yeah, right.
The next thing that we come to is the parsha of Toldo, the generations of Yitzchak. And this is, again, this theme of there's more going out in here, there's more searching around. And briefly, it's also the story about how Yaakov, Yitzchak's son, cheated Esau out of his birthright. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. But what I want to...
I'm sorry, your 10 minutes is now up.
Let me leave. At the end of the parsha, really, when Yitzchak gives the bracha to Yaakov, who he thinks is Esau, he gives him the same thing that Abraham told Eliezer. He says to go out to his uncle Laban's, and again, he shouldn't take a wife from the Canaanites. And again, this is this whole idea of going out from where you are to find a soulmate. Okay? And that theme seems to be recurrent there. And that seems to be a big thing here. The next parsha we come to is by Yetzer, which is Yaakov went out. And where did he go? He went somewhere, and he was on his way to Laban's, and he stopped somewhere. And he had a dream about the ladder and the angels. And that dream is very rich in symbolism, and that's really not what I want to talk about. We all hear lots of stories about that. But the one I like, and I think someone was mentioning about it before, the symbolism for me there is that the Jews have their feet firmly on the ground and their heads in Bashamayim in the heaven. And as my mother likes to say, maybe we're Luftmenches a little bit. And now I'm going to interject a little story here about the idea of what a Luftmensch is.
The American expression is spaced out.
I told you last week a little mensch is a mensch that flies an airplane.
So when Mom first told me, she says, "Oh, Sandy, Michelle, and Shelley, they're going to get married." And when
She didn't say
Michelle's father asks, "Well, what does this guy do? What does he do in Israel?" And Ma says, "Well, what Michelle would say is, where did Dory go?"
That's not what
Right
Michelle
here.
said.
It's right
She
here.
said, she would say, oh, well, he was in Israel, he was on kibbutz, he worked there, he's kind of a luftmensch. And I didn't think much about that conversation. Then a couple of days later, I was thinking about something. I saw some beautiful pictures of people on a kibbutz in Israel.